thank him for coming out here to attend this with us. He is the inventor of the game we call Photon. He's the one that put in the effort to make this happen. Spent a lot of time, really created the first commercial laser tag system. He's going to come up and talk to you, and then I'm going to MC and help him answer any questions you guys have. So, George Carter, everybody.
Really appreciate that. It's kind of funny, the last time that happened was at the opening of Photon. It's been 30 years. I was up on the observation deck and we had all of our investors and everybody in for a soft opening. And after the very first game played, I got a standing ovation on the observation deck. Great touching, thank you. What I thought I'd do tonight is answer questions. I've had dozens of questions from everybody individually here, so I thought anything you want to know about what went on early on, now's your chance, shoot away.
Good. It might be obvious, maybe it's been answered, but what was the inspiration?
Star Wars. I was watching the movie when I was in Las Vegas, and I saw the scene of them running up and down the hallways of the ship, shooting lasers at each other. And I've always been in the amusement business for years and years. I was in the go-kart and Grand Prix track business, so I was always looking for good amusement ideas, and it just seemed like a natural. It's just a game every kid's played. So I thought, how can we do this and keep score? And that was 1977, and it took until 1982 before I attempted it. The technology hadn't developed, well enough to do that at that time.
What were some of what was one of the harder challenges that you faced when you were designing the system?
Well, we had to create everything. There just wasn't anything out there to start with, so somehow I got on the idea of the reverse IR, which made everything a lot easier. So I actually took my television set apart and took the remote and put a little tube on it and tested it. Sure enough, I could zoom in on the TV and find out I could get a signal. So that was the idea for the reverse IR. And once I did that, I found some electronics people who could help me, and we just had to create virtually everything from scratch. All the software, all the hardware, all the equipment. So it took just creating everything, every last little detail we had to do. And we didn't have a very big budget. We did the entire development and the first arena for $300,000, which is quite a bit of money in 1984, but we did a lot of stuff for that $300,000.
Was Dallas the original arena that you built for that purpose?
Yes, it was. It was in a kind of a warehouse type district. It was hard to find property in Dallas at that time. It was a real boom time for real estate in Dallas, and we really had a hard time finding a good facility. It was behind a gas station, which really wasn't an ideal retail location, but it worked out.
How many centers did you actually open while you were still a company under the name Photon? What was the peak number of centers you had open?
It was in the mid-40s that were actually open at one time. We'd actually sold 70-some franchises, but a lot of them paid the franchise fees and never got open. But at the peak, it was either 45 or 46, somewhere in that area.
For the TV show, did you have anything to do with the casting? Because it was brilliant.
No comment. Yes.
What was your favorite arena?
Well, the Alpha Field turned out to be everybody's favorite, and that was original Dallas design, and we played hour after hour of games testing the equipment in the arena, moving things around and getting it all to work. And then actually, even after we got open, we'd go in and modify stuff and move it around to get it all to work. So before the franchises ever got a blueprint, we had already moved things around to a great extent there in Dallas. Yes.
How did you get the sound? Where did you get the sounds and the rules from of the game?
The sounds, you mean like the music or what?
The actual game sounds. In the rules of the game.
Well, how did we develop the rules of the game? We wanted to capture the childhood game of playing cops and robbers and that sort of thing, because it was a natural thing to play. And we wanted to incorporate capture the flag into it. So that's why you would attack the bases and try to defend your own base at the same time. So that was the basis for all the rules. And then after that, we just had to come up with a scoring system. Initially, everybody started at 0, so you ended up with negative scores. And we learned that if you would start at 200, you'd have less negative scores.
Good in the back there.
Yeah, kind of the hanging question for a lot of us. I mean, we went to New York live, and then what do you feel was like the misstep? Was it kept it we won laser tags?
It was simple. No funding. I couldn't get money. I spent half my time out trying to chase dollars, and we were never properly capitalized. We did the franchise system, which is really a bad business model, but it's the only thing we could do. And I wish some of the bankers that told me it was a fad were here tonight.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, scientifically, a photon is a particle of light. Is that what kind of influenced you to use the name photon? Or?
That was our second choice. The first choice was laser tag. I was advised by my lawyer that we would never be able to get a trade name on that, so unfortunately it became Photon.
In the middle there.
Who came up with the original idea for the design and the layout of the alpha field? Was it a collaborative effort?
It was collaborative. It was pretty much my original idea to do the symmetrical field, and we hired some good architects and people, and then we, like I said, we went in and tested it. We had cardboard boxes. We moved around in the arena area and did a lot of testing, and when it seemed to work, then we went ahead and had it built.
Vinny?
The music was produced by Ken Calais,
Yes.
the father of Colby Calais, if you guys don't know, or we've finally seen that article on the producer of Fleetwood Mac. What was that connection?
Well, my previous business in Dallas was a Grand Prix racetrack that was invested in and funded by members of Fleetwood Mac and a bunch of other Hollywood celebrities. So from my connection there, when they invested in that, they had the part of the investment was the property that we bought. We bought a $1 million piece of ground. And a year and a half later, somebody offered $4 million for the ground. So obviously they sold it. And I was out of business at that point and had to do something. So that's when I started Photon and went to see Ken. And I said, can we create some futuristic sounding music? And he did a great job. I heard it today a lot, and it still sounds good after all this time.
Yeah.
Bob over here to the right.
Yeah, one of my most primal memories of Photon, walking into the lobby and hearing that Jean-Michel Jarre, the Rendezvous, can you say anything about how that became part of it?
Well, you know, everything was science fiction back then, so we wanted to use the new age type music. So that was one of the good cuts we could do. So we played that a lot.
Yeah, and it wasn't floaty new age music. It was kind of heavy and intense. It really hit you when you came in the door.
Well, the whole idea of Photon was to be very immersive. You know, we didn't even know what that word was then, but I knew it needed to be somewhere you could go and really get into it and really believe it. And I think that's why there's so many people here tonight, because it worked.
Good.
One of the things I like about Photon is it's a pretty balanced gameplay, between teams, the scoring, and everything else, the deal. What kind of things did you run into as you were developing it that, helped you to balance it out, to make it a pretty even game?
Well, we did some testing with handicapping, that sort of thing, and I think the main thing was the fact that it was symmetrical. It never gave one team an advantage over another. So I think the symmetry is a big part of it. And also the observation deck was very important, and the two-level playing field. Remember, nobody had ever played at first, and to get people to go in there, they had to understand what they were getting into. So I think that the observation deck was a big part of that.
Lighting and electrolytes, were there multiple
stages, versions, or pretty much what we see now? Was that, I mean, was there things before that, ideas or?
Well, that was done by my architect, a guy named Buddy Collins, and we were basically had run out of money about the time we were putting up the lighting. The budget was extremely tight, and he took some PVC pipe and a saw and started putting some slots in it, and we had some inexpensive plastic bowls made that we cut holes in, and it worked great. It actually, put lights on the wall. It was very inexpensive. I had a very good architect there that actually did the construction work also.
Some people may know this, but during the intruder alert, was it really supposed to have been attacking players from like a game laser in the ceiling center?
Everybody believed that.
I never did.
We never had to do it. It wasn't necessary, so we never did. Never actually attacked anybody.
But was it planned?
Yeah, it was sort of planned, but since the regulars learned it didn't happen, and the new people coming in thought it did, so it was kind of interesting.
One of the soundtracks, some people call it the dance track, some people call it track 8. I know that at various times it was track 6. Depends on what CD each facility got, but it was kind of more of an upbeat track. And it sounds to some of us like there's some synthesized words in there, although we can't quite make out what the words are. Play it backwards.
That's I was going to say that. Maybe if you played it backwards, you'd hear that. But nothing that was intentional. I sat in the studio the whole time it was being done with Ken, and Gary Chang, I believe, is the guy that was playing the synthesizer. So
there's no real words. It's just something more imagining as there are real words in it.
There are. Well, if somebody figures it out, let me know.
I do it all the time, and there's like two separate things. I hear the words traveling up to the stars, and then something going back to Mars. You guys take back.
And the very end.
Those are the only things. Those are the only things I can hear.
More drinks for that man.
I'll give Ken a call and see it, how that got done.
Good.
Did you expect it to take on the league quality or the competitive quality that it did?
Yeah, it was originally intended to be a competitive sport. That was the whole idea. Our players were all 18 to 30 in that range. It wasn't a kids game back then. We allowed the running. We encouraged all that. The leagues we developed. I hired somebody that had a good sports background. And he set up the league play and set up the brackets and did all that. And as far as the different league players challenging one another and traveling to other photons, they did that on their own. So a lot of that happened, as all of you know.
In the back, JJ.
If the alpha field was your original field design, what made you come up with the other different styles of fields?
Kind of the franchisees wanted to change up on it, and then we started doing the double fields, so we had to get a different style there. So we did the Omega field, which it's similar, but the alpha field still ended up being the best. We didn't really spend as much time testing the other field.
Did you ever have concerns when you were developing about the weight of all the equipment?
Yeah. The battery was a problem. The other equipment was fairly heavy, but it was a battery problem, and there weren't any better batteries then. We didn't have lithium ion then at that point. So.
Is it true that some of the characters in the show were named after real players, and if so, do you remember them? And also on...
One of them for sure, Bathan.
Mm-hmm.
Percival was, okay, right, yeah, that was his player name. Bathan went by the actual, it wasn't his real name. Bathan Miller, it was his actual name, and he was an employee there.
I didn't know that.
We didn't have a Mandar.
So after 30 years and everything you've seen this weekend, any desire to take another run at it?
Yeah, you got some money?
What would you do differently, though?
Well, it'd be a lot easier now with the good electronics and all that. And there's some things you could do. You could do some unique things. I'm working on a military version right now. That's it's a serious, real version to replace the Miles system they're used right now.
Was there ever a bigger field than Wildwood?
We never approved Wildwood, they just built it. I heard it was spectacular, but I don't know how well it played.
Did you ever go there?
No, I never made it to Wildwood. I made it to probably more than half of them.
4 floors.
That's what I heard.
Of the places you did visit, was there one that sticks out in your mind as, oh my God, I can't believe they built this place?
No, not really, because we were trying to promote the company line and build the fields that we said to build, because we knew they played better, and some of them were more spectacular. The one in Japan was probably the most unusual that I saw. It was all stainless steel, and it was really, really amazing.
Good time for about 1 or 2 more questions. Scott?
So I was actually just about to ask, how did the field in Japan come about? What was the connection there, and how did that get opened up? Was that through the TV show, or?
No, it was unrelated. We had some U.S. representatives who were Japanese Americans that put the deal together, and we suggested they follow the franchise rules, but they just built what they wanted, and I didn't see what it was till I got there. I spent about 10 days over there during the grand opening time.
Wow.
Bob, go ahead.
I always admired the game design of Photon. I thought that it was a good game if you translated it into a tabletop game with dice and pencils and paper. I thought it would still be a good game. And there's a couple of unique things about it. The concept of clearing that forces you to spread your fire throughout the opposing team instead of just picking on a particular player. And also the high-value base that happens to win a game. Do you have anything to say about just the game design?
Well, we tried to do what toy companies call play value. It's something that's just kind of natural that kids like to do. And if you like to do it as a kid, you'll like to do it as an adult. So the basic cops and robbers game that all kids used to play, and Capture the Flag was another version. It's a regular game that fit into this very well. And we came up with things like the clearing because we found out what happened if somebody would follow the same person around shooting him over and over. So
like what happens when you play laser tag other places, Bob.
So we developed that as we went on, and we played a lot of test games before we ever opened to try to work all that out.
All right, last question. I know you've had.
Really just a comment. I just want to thank you, and that also it was a great workout. We ran the field and 6.5 minutes with 13 pounds of equipment. I think my resting heart rate was probably in the low 60s when I was a teenager, and we just had a great time, and I thank you very much for it.
Thank you, appreciate it.
George Carter, everybody, he made all this possible.